in some cases, reintroduce an age-old concept that is slowly gaining popularity again around the country. So start your watch parties and go phone a friend and let everybody know Praise Temple is live. This broadcast can be viewed on Facebook Live, YouTube, Periscope, and praisetemple.com. Let's get right into it. Sharing with us tonight is Minister Alicia Mingo. Hello, Minister Mingo. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, you look well.
Well, thank you. And so do you.
Thank you. Well, I want us to start off by you telling our viewers who you are and let us know what you do professionally as well as within the ministry of Praise Temple.
Okay. So I'm Alicia Mingo. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a nurse. I am also one of the executive directors for Praise Temple Evangelism, Missions and Outreach. And I'm also a part of the intercessory prayer team. And the list just goes on.
Yeah, you're a very busy woman.
Yes.
And but I have two beautiful children. Tell us the names of your children, one of which is my goddaughter.
Yes, it's Adam Mingo Jr. and there's Ariel. And then I call her my love child, Kendall and Joseph.
Absolutely. Yes, and who is your husband?
Adam, the one and only.
The one and only. Adam
Mingo. Yes, ma'am.
Well, recently, you obtained a unique type of certification. Explain to us what that certification is.
Okay, so I became a healthy birth ambassador. It was about an 18-week long training where we went through weekly trainings via Zoom, of course, with the pandemic going on. And so from there, we would do calls on Thursdays via Zoom, a lot of training, also coursework outside of the trainings. And then there were 4, I would like to say in-person retreats, but of course that was changed because of the pandemic. So it's been quite a bit of studying, lots of studying. And that particular certification was given through Sister Midwives Productions. The founder is Miss Nicole Duggins, and her program director is Miss Victoria Williams. And those wonderful ladies are out of South Louisiana. But we have had presenters and trainers from around the United States. Wow. I mean, just the wealth of knowledge that they've given to us, 18 weeks and counting, because it's been so much, because a healthy birth, it takes a lot to go into that. And so making sure that we were well prepared to prepare the community and the families that we're serving. They really spared no expense. And I just want to say a special thank you also to, I'm sorry, I just went blank, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana Foundation, because they provided the scholarship for us to go through the training. And it's about 14 ladies here, yes ma'am, in the Shreveport area. So region 7 and 8, we were able to go through that program because of them. So, I really appreciate it. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get started.
Absolutely. And especially with you being a mom yourself and going through that process and knowing what it feels like to birth a child and be a mom, and, the starting process, the middle process, and then on the other side of that. So how did this interest in becoming a healthy birth ambassador come about? Like, where did this notion come about for you, and why is it important for you to secure this certification?
Okay, so initially, when I became pregnant with my first child, my mom had just recently moved further north, and I'm like, okay, now it's not a good time for you to be going anywhere, but she did. But she left me in great, great hands, especially like my Praise Temple family, Miss LaShonda Boyd. Just, and my in-laws, they're phenomenal, So at that time, I didn't feel like I was really concerned about having support. I am one of 5 children and none of them live in Louisiana. So that was my biggest concern. And of course, I was married to my husband, and just looking around and looking for support, I didn't find that there was a lot of support either that was for married people, so married women, or married families. And so anywho, that was a lot of kind of what got me going there. And after giving birth, of course, I nursed both of my children, but with my first son, I found that it was hard for me to find education outside of the hospital regarding breastfeeding. So again, I'm kind of stuck on Google, reading, searching, and thankfully I found Kelly. She's really good with breastfeeding information. And so from there, I kind of wanted to really get into breastfeeding and educating people. Well, long story short, I went to a meeting for, what was it? It was something with African-American women and maternal health here with, I think it's Miss Kelly Regal is her name. I went, and they kept inviting me. So I kept going. And she sent me a message about Sister Midwives Productions, that they were putting together a cohort of women they were looking for women to become healthy birth ambassadors. And so just a little bit about what a healthy birth ambassador is, of course, as an ambassador.
That was my next question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, let me let you ask it.
No, go ahead, because and for those of you who may have just tuned in to Praise Temple Live with Bishop L. Lawrence Brandon, we're here with Minister Alicia Mingo discussing her certification, and she recently acquired that certification to become a healthy birth ambassador. So, let us know exactly what is a healthy birth ambassador.
Okay. So as I was just talking about the training a little bit earlier, it is pretty extensive, and the curriculum, it's nice and thick, but it's so much knowledge. But it gives you the opportunity to become a certified doula, a childbirth educator, certified breastfeeding specialist, community health worker, and a pregnancy and infant loss advocate. So again, with the curriculum being as big as it was, we covered a lot of information and just a lot of areas to really help support families through birth. Also, we're people who live in our communities. As I mentioned before, the ladies currently live down south who were heading the program, but they came to North Louisiana because we have some of the highest infant mortality rates like in the state. Just in North Louisiana, period. So between Shreveport, Bossier, it's terrible, and sometimes you got to kind of not laugh, but smile when you think about it to keep from crying, because at the beginning of our course, the information that was presented to us was 1 in 4 African-American women die like during childbirth or around childbirth. And then the children, some of the babies don't even, before they reach the age of 1, their death rates are really high. And so what they found was that if they could educate us and touch this cohort of women who were interested in doing it, what we would do is definitely take that information that we've learned and take it back into our communities to definitely decrease those rates, if at all possible, because sometimes some of the things that women are dying from, and we're losing children, some of these things are really and truly preventable. I believe this study showed about 60% of the deaths are preventable deaths, just having that knowledge that's needed. And so I think
that's how your journey began, and how you came to I guess in being a healthy birth ambassador. I want to go back a little bit to talk about the certification itself, because you mentioned a few things. You talked about the fact that it was 18 weeks, I think you said.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us exactly, like, what were some of the things specifically that you learned, and then what were some of the experiences that you gained while going through this process? Were there any things that, like I said, you have, two beautiful kids already, you've gone through the process. So now coming into the knowledge of, was there anything that was like an aha moment for you, something new that you learned, or, information that you really felt was imperative to get out in the community?
Mm-hmm. The aha moment for me was that the biggest one is, which what I just mentioned, was that 60% of deaths were preventable. That is more than half. Of course, some things are not preventable. There are some things that we just can't do anything about. But 60% of the deaths were preventable. Whether it be there were signs and symptoms going on that the mother didn't know to tell or communicate with someone that she was having those problems, whether it be something that was just possibly missed with the obstetrician or something going on at the hospital, but 60% was preventable. Like, that's the thing that just kind of keeps ringing in my head. Like, this did not have to happen, because we know when we lose a mom or we lose a child, like, pregnancy is not something like, boom, you're pregnant today and there is a baby tomorrow. Like, there is somewhere between a 7 to 9 month preparation period. So for most people, this is like the happiest time in their lives. They're getting ready to welcome a new baby. Like, they're planning. There has been preparation. The body has gone through preparation. Financially, we've prepared. And so to say that we go into the hospital one way and we may never come out because of something that was preventable, something that we could have educated people on, something that we could have educated providers on, and even our community to have better outcomes. I mean, like, that was just an aha moment for me. To hear some of the stories that I heard about people going through delivery and being pressured by their physicians and being ignored. That wasn't my story. Thankfully, God provided me with a wonderful obstetrician and pediatrician and all of these things. But there are people who were being, forced to really do things that they didn't want to do, and they were not appropriately educated about what was going on with them or what they wanted. It was simply somebody made a choice to do a provider made a choice to do something that was convenient for them. So my biggest thing is, of course, making sure that we're educating and advocating, which is one of the things that we stand by strongly as a healthy birth ambassador. And something they said was to make sure, like, advocacy doesn't just mean that I am speaking out for someone, but I'm also teaching them and giving them the knowledge that they need to speak out for themselves. Like, just because your doctor say, hey, we're going to do a C-section on this date, then we teach you, hey, let's see, why are we doing a C-section? Like, why is this so important? And even when you go in from the beginning, we want to encourage you to be strong enough to speak to your doctor, because there are a lot of people who get white coat syndrome. We say, oh, they're the doctor, they've been to school forever, or, the nurse practitioner, or the physician's assistant that you're seeing, before you get to that birthing point. And we say, well, whatever they tell us to do is going to be the best thing for us. But from our side, especially from the doula standpoint, we're saying that let's sit down and let's talk about what it is that you want. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily something that's going to happen, but at least you're able to go in and make your wishes known. And also to speak up about if it's something you don't understand or you don't know, ask questions. I can tell you, I'm a nurse and I had 2 kids, and I'm like, somebody didn't prepare me. Somebody left a couple of things out.
Right.
So definitely us advocating and teaching people how to advocate for themselves, encouraging you to speak up, encouraging you to ask questions. Definitely look for those prenatal classes. So that was just, we start talking about birth and having children. That's something that should be something exciting. And it's unfortunate that we're losing 60%, 1 in 4 from, when we started. Now we know it's 1 in 5 women, when there was something we could have done to prevent it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, being that you are this advocate for moms and families that are, welcoming children into their in their lives, how do you, from a standpoint of a healthy birth ambassador, how do you make that initial connection with that expectant mother or those families to provide your expertise?
Okay. So currently
I can see that was a good question because I saw your face light up.
You have a lot of wisdom, so I got to be ready. I'm like, okay, I got that one. So currently, I'm working with 4 women at this time, with 4 families. And if you just want me to be honest, when I am scrolling through Facebook and somebody is like, I am pregnant, I'm like, hey,
okay.
Can I walk through this process with you? And with our doula certification, we do all of the actual paperwork, I guess I'll say, up front. And then we have to see actually 2 moms through birth. So some of the certifications.
So hold up right there. Let's stick a pin there. You said there's paperwork that has to be done. So explain that process.
I'm sorry, the theory portion is what I'm talking. So the theory portion of the curriculum, we do that up front for the doula training. And then once you've completed the theory, such as learning everything you need to learn, then of course we go out and we say, hey, I think that's kind of how my message went. I just got done with the certification. I need to walk 2 moms through this process, to get my full-fledged certification. And so I started with them, and I'm currently walking them through it. And so that's just basically teaching them what a healthy birth is, how we can do it, what we can do, things that we need to talk with our doctor about, offering suggestions, asking questions, just sitting down, meeting with them and finding out what's comfortable for them and what would keep them happy and comfortable through birth, and then teaching them again how to speak up and what to speak up on, and things to voice. So yes, ma'am.
Well, again, if you're tuning in to Praise Temple Live with Bishop L. Lawrence Brandon, we are here speaking with Minister Alicia Mingo about her new certification, becoming a healthy birth ambassador. Now, I wanted to ask this question because I know in my own research within Brown communities, there's more and more women that are seeking out doulas, as you mentioned, midwives. And so, as an alternative to their birth experience. So I know that Erykah Badu, she started out as a doula and now she's a midwife. Kadeen Ellis has also talked about her experience with a midwife on YouTube. So I want the people that are watching to, if you could explain to them what the difference is between a doula, which your certification encompasses, and a midwife.
Okay, so like I was saying, a doula is more so someone who is walking through the process. We are not medically trained to deliver a child. Okay, that's not typically what we do. If that's something that you choose to do at home, of course, we would strongly. Well, I would strongly recommend that we start in the beginning of our process. Let's start finding a midwife. Who is it? Do you want to use a midwife or do you want to use an OB? And so the midwife, they are professionally trained to deliver children, whether it be in the home, and then they can also deliver at hospitals as well. Now, a doula.
Go ahead.
Okay. And so then you have a doula. You have what they call the pregnancy doula, who just walks you through pregnancy, or you can have one who specializes in just the birthing process, labor and delivery. And then you have one who sometimes chooses to specialize in the postpartum range, which basically with postpartum, they're kind of more so like cooking food, checking on you. They'll come and make you special baths. I mean, it just depends on like what their range is. Yeah. And so at the moment, I'm just kind of, starting mine and working my way towards to the end. But I've been looking up recipes and I'm really excited. So there are, but again, we are we are focusing more so non-medical, but definitely those comfort measures. And like I said, teaching you how to advocate, speaking to you, helping you basically just walk through a nice, healthy, and comfortable pregnancy to the best of our ability. So did that answer your question? Okay.
Absolutely. And I did want to add that midwives also have the ability to also offer gynecological examinations, birth control counseling, prescriptions, and they can assist in labor and delivery for kids. So, of course, you have so many different options. And like you said, I just learned that I didn't realize doulas had an option as to, what stage of the process, they could focus on. And so that's pretty cool too, to know that you have someone there, like you mentioned, kind of help walk you through and just to educate you and to let you know that, hey, it's okay to ask questions. For goodness sakes, it's your body, and it's your child that you're bringing into the world. So you want to make sure that you're asking all those right questions, that you're thinking about the right things, because especially if this is someone new, this is their first child, they need to know as much as they possibly can know about the process. Now let's shift a bit. So what does it mean in terms of support in the community now that you have this designation? I know that you talked about, you kind of doing some things on Facebook, and if you kind of see someone, but I want to think about a larger scale, because you talked about the fact that there were, I think, 4 other women that went through this process with you. So
about 14 for the Shreveport area.
Oh, 14.
Yes.
So now that
20 altogether.
So now that you ladies have this designation, what is kind of like the scale of where this is going to go? Like, is there a plan to get more people out there to know about these services? Because really and truly, if I was somebody that didn't know anything about this, I wouldn't know the services are available. So are you guys connected with other organizations out there where people can understand and know that you guys have these services available? What's the next step in the fact that you guys now have this certification? You're in the street in region 6 or 7, and it's like 14 of you. What's the goal?
Okay. So currently, of course, like I said, the first cohort is between region 7 and 8. So that's basically all of across northern Shreveport, period. So from the Texas state line all the way to the Mississippi state line and towards Arkansas, if you're on that side of us. Okay. I mean, if you're north of us. Okay. And so I'm really glad you asked that question. So on November the 6th, region 7, we will be doing a Zoom discussion to talk about healthy birth. So let's see, and that's going to be November the 6th from 6 to 7 p.m. We will be discussing healthy birth. We will talk about prenatal care. We will discuss nutrition, and we'll also have free giveaways, and that's for region 7. And then region 8 will also have their group coming up. Now we'll do my personal goal. I've reached out to the president of the Northwest Louisiana CDC. Oh, wow. Regarding their resource center, and I would like to start doing monthly trainings. I won't say trainings, but definitely monthly educational, I guess I can call them symposiums. Yes, to speak with anyone who's interested, like come out, ask questions. We want you to ask questions. Like there's no dumb question. There's no stupid question. And sometimes you won't even have questions until you get to that day in your pregnancy and you're like, wait a minute, what's this? So the more questions, the merrier. But their goal was, of course, to the Sister Midwife Productions goal was to, of course, do these first two areas because our mortality rates were so high. And they are actually now training another cohort of women. So they're just going to work their way through the entire state. And then from there, they're moving on to other states. So our goal is to really get it out there, not just for Louisiana, but definitely to go throughout the United States and surrounding areas. So making sure that everyone is aware. And I mean, one death is too much, just one death is too much. So basically doing all that we can to make sure that we're educating people, and not just the families, but making sure that we're educating our community, making sure that we're educating our politicians and our public servants, because they're the ones who make the laws. They're the ones who can go into a hospital and say, hey, we need to change this. This is not what's beneficial for a parent. This is not what's beneficial for a child. So just educating everyone around, because everyone in some way, one way or the other, can help to bear some responsibility, like to help out. So whether it's just like, for example, thank you to Bishop Brandon and my Praise Temple family, because now we're able to sit here and we're here to talk about it. So we're using our platform to help people, and to love people, of course, and doing what we can to make things better. So, Department of Family and Children Services, it's really big. We pay our tax dollars to them, So we pay, I was just on a training today. So we are paying for these things, and we just want to make sure that we're doing what we can to help parents, to help families, because when there's one death, it affects more than one person. It's not just like, oh, this child over here dies, or something that negatively affected one family through this. It may be your family the next day. So our goal is let's just kind of try to get rid of as much of this negative that we have going on and give the positive and educate. And so one of the other big things with the Healthy Birth Ambassador was their goal was to increase the number of individuals trained to support families during pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period. We wanted to increase awareness, like we were just talking about with the midwives, increase awareness that you do have options to birth.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And so we want to improve our breastfeeding rates. I mean, we want to do as much as we can. We want to stop the low birth weights, and we just really, really want to stop, just life being lost when it could have simply been prevented.
Right. And I can really, I'm a true proponent and advocate for breastfeeding, because I breastfed all three of my kids. And I noticed, and they even tell you this, that when you breastfeed your kids, they are less likely to be as sickly as kids that are just fed, milk, formula. So there is research behind that as well. So all of this information is really good. Now I want to go back to some statistics, because you presented some statistics earlier. And then of course I got some additional statistics.
Now let me put this, I am not a big strong number person, so let me put that out there. But let's go for it.
According to the March of Dimes, Louisiana ranks poorly for every outcome marker regarding maternal and infant health. It ranks 49th for infant mortality, preterm birth, and low birth weight. Non-Hispanic Black infants are more than twice as likely to die before reaching their first birthday. Nearly 1/3 of the parishes were labeled as maternity deserts. maternity care deserts. That's crazy when you really think about it. Yeah. And then the Center for American Progress stated that the United States has the highest maternal and infant mortality rates among comparable developed countries, where there are hospitals and, medical facilities that are equipped to help prevent some of these deaths and mortality rates we previously spoke about. African American women across the income spectrum and from all walks of life are dying from preventable pregnancy-related complications at 3 to 4 times the rate of non-Hispanic white women, while the death rate for Black infants is twice that of infants born to non-Hispanic white mothers. So this is what I wanted to ask you and get to. Specifically in our region in Louisiana, why do you see a need for the type of services that you provide? And this is what I mean. Just playing devil's advocate. Some people might say, well, I have an obstetricianist. No, I don't need a healthy ambassador. Or they might say, I can just, I know that there are federally funded programs like WIC, because they do provide some, classes for expecting moms. So why a healthy birth ambassador? What would make someone want to really make sure that they had a healthy birth ambassador?
Okay. So I would say the first thing is that we're there for you. We are there to advocate for you. We are there to teach you, and we're there to do what we can to make sure that you have a happy, healthy process. Sometimes when you start looking at programs, even though when they put those programs together, there was the right intent, sometimes when we start seeing money roll in, the intention kind of shifts from the individual to our pocket. It begins to shift from taking care of a person and a baby, moving towards what. Yes. And I think that that's just one of the issues with healthcare all along today, is that we're no longer really focused on healing. And when I say we, I mean as a whole, but there are a lot of people who are more so interested in how much can I make off of this? And so with being a healthy birth ambassador and a doula and those things, we are more so doing what's going to be best and most beneficial for you and your family. One of the other problems or concerns is that when you go to these programs or you're going to your doctor's office, sometimes if we don't know the right thing to say or the right way to communicate what we want to say and what we're trying to say gets overlooked. There are quite a few concerns I've heard regarding the doctors, and I've just heard a lot of complaints as a nurse, period. The doctor was only in here just a few minutes. You stayed in here longer than I did, so to making sure that when you are going, that you're properly prepared for what it is that you want to happen, what you want to say, and then what you're expecting to get back. Because sometimes people have to get in and get a little comfortable with their doctor to kind of start opening up. And sometimes you'll have a doctor sometimes that will sit there with you, that will go through your concerns. But unfortunately, with healthcare and the way it is today, and people trying to meet quotas and, hey, your 15 minutes is up, they're moving right along. And that's not everybody, but I'm hearing that more and more and more. And I think that that's part of the reason.
And also with telehealth coming on board, that's another thing that you don't really have that personal connection anymore. It's kind of like it's fading away, because with telehealth, you're getting on virtually with somebody and you're just kind of telling them what your symptoms are, and then they're regurgitating back to you what they think, the issue should be, or what the issue might be rather. So just as you were saying, having that doula or having that midwife there to kind of help you think about those things pre-doctor's appointment before you get there, kind of, puts you at ease and then allows you to think about those questions that you need to ask, so that you'll get the right answer for you.
Right. And so one of the things that I do want to throw out there, that I learned from Ms. Nicole Diggins, she said that if you are telling your doctor what's wrong, or you have a question for your doctor and they say, oh, or a suggestion, and they're like, I don't think so, or not really. When something just doesn't sit right with you, or you have more questions about that, or you're discussing something with them that's a particular concern of yours, just ask them to add that into your chart. Because as a clinician, when you have to write something down, you're saying, hey, I said and I thought about that. And then it's kind of like, wait, do I really want to put that in writing? And oftentimes you'll hear them come back and say, well, I thought about it.
Okay.
And it does happen. Like I said, I never had any problems with OB, but just recently I had an issue with my primary care for what I was asking for, which I felt that would benefit me. And sometimes things don't cross cultures very well, because the lack of competency there, just regarding what it is that I do and what someone of another ethnicity may do. And things just don't cross well sometimes. And one of the things that we found, especially now after hearing about Serena Williams, and the list goes on, about women voicing their opinions and voicing their concerns and their needs to their doctors, and they're not taking it seriously. Even through nursing school, one thing that I heard and saw that they are writing in textbooks about African American people is that when it comes to pain, we're just numb. Like, we don't really feel pain like other people feel pain. Or a lot of the times you'll see where they're saying, well, we're coming in seeking meds. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, it happens. I have seen doctors, I have experienced it on my side before I was having a concern. And they told me, they said, oh, well, you must be smoking weed every day. And I'm like, I've never smoked weed a day in my life, but them not knowing me. And then when I go in as a patient, I don't automatically say, first offhand, I'm a nurse. No, we're going to see how you treat me. And then I'm going to just kind of lightly let you know, hey, that was unacceptable, or what brought you to that conclusion. So sometimes I think with the media and what people have been exposed to through the media and not being culturally competent, that there are a lot of things that are missed, and they are not sensitive to our needs as women, as individuals, and as people of color. So I think that that's where a lot of these problems that come in, where we're looking at 60% of preventable deaths, and they're happening because people are not listening and paying attention to you. And just one other thing, like I've heard, well, I won't even go all the way into that, but during your birthing process is hard enough as it is. And so having a doula in the room, or having, a spouse in the room, or a family member in the room with you, you shouldn't have to fight a doctor at that point. You shouldn't have to fight to make your voice heard, and, like be in a place where you have to defend yourself and your wants and your needs. That is what your doula is there for. Like, if you have one, that's what they're there for. That's what your family is there for as well. But at this time, you guys should be able to focus on, number one, making it through labor and delivery, and then seeing the joys of that. You shouldn't have to be to the point where, hey, I have to put a doctor in their place, or I have to fall out bawling and crying because I'm having so much pain. I should be able to say, hey, I'm in pain. Something isn't right. Something didn't work right. And that should be the end of it. What we say about our bodies and how we feel, our clinicians, these people that we pay to serve us, should be able to hear us out and to respond accordingly and appropriately to what we have going on. And unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. So there is definitely a need for doulas. And I think that that's why we're seeing such a large rate of people moving away from going to hospitals to birth to moving back to home, because they want to make sure they're going to be in a place that's comfortable and that people really and truly care for them and where they feel safe. Like the hospital is one of the last places we should not feel safe.
Right. And another caveat to that, and we can talk about this in another session, but another reason that people are moving away from the traditional way of having a child in a hospital or some type of facility is the fact that the prices that they charge for things are just outrageous. And people are finding mistakes on their medical bills and all of these different types of things. So, I mean, but that's another thing too. But the whole point of tonight, of course, was to introduce what a healthy birth ambassador is, what services they can provide, and mainly, really, to let people know that they need to be educated and that you guys are there to help educate them. You're there to kind of be that extra family member to look out for them on their behalf. So wrapping this up, because it's about time for us to wrap this up. What would you say to an expecting mother out there who may be listening?
I would say call me. Connect with me. Facebook me. Definitely. And not just me, but as an expectant mother, just my first thing would be write down what it is that you want. What is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to happen through your pregnancy? Definitely making sure that we are finding prenatal health through someone, whether you choose to use a doula, a midwife, an OB, someone, and just listen to yourself. Trust yourself with your concerns. There is no concern that's too small. We're here for you. We're here to serve. And when I say we, I mean doulas, midwives, doctors, whatever. We're here for you. And don't give up just because somebody didn't give you the response that you were hoping to get, or because someone did not take heart to what you were saying. It sucks. And yes, that's the word I'm going to use, that you have to kind of push sometimes when the people that should be advocating for you are not. And those are the very people that you have to, I hate to say fight, but those are the very people that you have to take a firm stance against. But keep speaking until you are heard. Keep speaking until you are heard. Don't give it up. Don't give up. Don't take your concerns lightly.
Absolutely.
And call me.
Yeah, well, speaking of calling you, how can they reach you? Either on social media or via sales. So tell the viewers how they can reach you, Miss Doula.
Okay. So of course, via social media, and I am Alicia Robinson Mingo on Facebook. Also on Instagram as Mrs. Mingo. And then you can also email me at Alicia, ALICIA _MINGO @yahoo.com. And I mean, whatever your concerns are, a lot of people send me things through Messenger. I am good with that. But yes, please do reach out. And then, as I mentioned before, on November the 6th, we'll be doing our Zoom through Facebook and everything from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I mean, they are a wonderful group of ladies. So there is someone who is knowledgeable and very concerned and passionate about the things that we are. I mean, even as far as dealing with infant loss, like there is somebody that there is information that's available, and people who are very passionate about, like, if you've lost a child or something similar to that. So yes, reach out to us.
Well, I really enjoyed being with you on tonight and learning a lot about being a healthy birth ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We pray this broadcast has been a blessing to you. And if it has, please share this episode. Also, don't miss your opportunity to be a blessing to Praise Temple via Cash App at $Praise Temple Global, or text to give using code 28950 in your dollar amount. On behalf of Bishop L. Lawrence Brandon and the entire Praise Temple family, we love you and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Have a blessed rest of the week. We are Praise Temple Strong. Until then.